Welcome to Scatter Travel TV. I'm Debbie Gerber. We are going today to a side trip from Rome. Rome is a beautiful city, but if you have enough time, there are a few side day trips that are fabulous. This one is to Tivoli Gardens. Tivoli Gardens is also known as Villa d'Este. Now, if you are in Italy, you might not find it under Tivoli Gardens. You might have to look for Villa d'Este. If I'm not saying it right, you'll see it, the name here printed so that you'll know what it is. This is in Italy. It's just outside of Rome. It is a place out of time. It is gorgeous. If you want a place with fountains and water and greenery, there's all kinds of statues, and Tivoli is about an hour's bus ride away from. We took the train, so we went to the we went to the train terminal in Rome, and we took the train. We took the train at the train station, main train station in Rome, and took the train out to the Tivoli station. And then from there, we went across the street downstairs, and there was a place to buy bus tickets. A lot of times they're just on a machine. Sometimes there's a person there. But we bought a bus ticket there, went on the blue buses. And, you know, it's in Europe. The one thing I really love about Europe is that their public transportation system is well marked. And it's easy to figure out how to take their systems. And so we got on the blue bus, and then we rode from there, which was a very crowded bus, right out to Tivoli Gardens, which deposited you right in the main square, the piazza of the Villa d'Este, so of Tivoli Gardens. It deposited you right there. There in front of you was a theater, this beautiful work of art, this arc, and then there was a theater where they perform musical and theatrical events. And then just around the corner, if you just kept walking straight from where the bus let you off, there is the entrance. The entrance doesn't look like much. It's just kind of like there's this wall and this little opening in the wall to go through for it. But what's impressive is inside the walls. Tivoli Gardens, or Villa d'Este, is listed or included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. That means it's a pretty neat place to go. I like to visit those places. It is filled with water fountains. If you stand at one end, you can look from one end of the gardens to the other end of the gardens, and there are fountains and water all the way down, and pools of water. It is gorgeous, and at certain times of the day, the reflections of everything above it will come out on the water. As we first entered the Villa d'Este, like it says, a villa, there is a house, or I don't know, maybe even more like a castle there. It is beautiful, room to room. I'm not sure why I didn't take pictures. I didn't take pictures, which means it probably asked us not to take pictures. I always honor that when I go somewhere and it asks you not to take photographs. But the paintings on the walls, the frescoes on the walls were beautiful. Room to room to room. Some of it had fixed up and some hadn't. There were carpets, and it was just room to room, a beautiful place to go and see. I wished I had that to show you. One of the main things that I had gone there to see was the music water fountain. The music water fountain is supposed to be run by water, that the water makes the pipes play, and it would then play you a concert on this pipe organ run by water. I was looking so forward to that. I was a little bit disappointed. We waited half an hour for it to play. We even waited through a little rainstorm, which reminds me, anytime you go somewhere, if there's even the slightest possibility that it might rain, to make your vacation more enjoyable, you should bring an umbrella. There are some that are so small they're barely the size of your hand. They fit in a backpack, they fit in your pocket, they fit in your purse, but to have them along is well worth the little amount of space and weight that it takes to bring one. After we waited all that time and it finally did play, what we found out is it's a beautiful fountain, lots of water going and water patterns, and it's really pretty, and you can see the pipe organ, and the pipe organ comes out and it plays this beautiful pipe organ music. What I was disappointed in is that it is not done by water. It is just piped in music that you listen to while you watch the fountain. So while it was gorgeous and beautiful, I had a moment of disappointment over that. But not over the rest of the gardens. Let me walk you through the parts of the garden that most impressed me and that I most enjoyed. We loved, there's a fountain that it looked like a drinking fountain, except you couldn't quite reach it. But it was this beautiful little level fountain, and it overlooked the entire valley. It reminded me a lot of what I would have thought of. I don't know why Naples comes to mind when I saw this. I really hadn't at that point seen Naples, but that's what I would think it would look like. It was just very beautiful valley with lots of houses. The walkways weren't like big steps that you took. They were just long steps with little rises on them that went up. I should mention here that if you are needing handicap facilities, one of the things we found in Europe, because we were traveling with someone in a wheelchair, is that you had to call ahead. If you would make reservations at the different sites, then they could provide you with some help or some facilities for that. They had a little cart that would take you around as long as you had made prior arrangements for it, because it would be really almost impossible to take a wheelchair through a lot of the sites that we went through, including this one. But it did have an elevator that went from the top level down to the ground level, so you could see a good deal of that if you wanted to do that without doing the cart. The fountains were everywhere, little teeny dribble fountains, ones that rose up, ones in between bushes. They were just so creative. One of our favorites was there was a large fountain that stood with a statuette in it with these wonderful knobby trees behind it. And we even stopped there to have our picture taken because we liked that one so much. Part of it that wasn't greenery or water that I found fascinating were the tiles that had been laid and stones that had been laid in patterns to make the walkways. I can't imagine the number of hours that it took, and yet how precise they were when they did it. At the very top by the pipe organ was the upper part of the gardens where you could look out over the other ones. And I've already mentioned that you could see the different ponds as you go down. And then it just kind of then ended and overlooked the entire valley. But you had these shooting fountains of water that were, oh my gosh, they were really high, really tall. And where the music pipe organ was gorgeous. Lots of statues and beautiful things in there. But you could walk down the side where these water fountains were and go down to the bottom on different levels and look at the height of the fountains rising up. And then there was almost like a waterfall that ran down over rocks that was kind of smooth, almost looked like a big slippery slide that went down. And water would cascade at the bottom, and sometimes you could see like the rainbows in it or just get a little splash off of it. There was the monkey fountain, at least that's what I called it, and it had water spouting out each of them. I thought that it maybe be out of their mouth, but it wasn't. Sculptures maybe. Little faces. A lot of them were little faces just carved out, and there was one that was on a series of stairways, long stairway, and on each stair was a carving the space with the water coming out of it with a little catch-all that then went down to the next one. And so there was a whole cascading series of steps with these little faces on them with water coming out of their mouth. The reflections on the ponds were just tremendous. That alone would just make frameable pictures to keep forever. So you really do have to take photos when you go, because in your head you remember it, but unless you have a photo to show, you could never describe the beauty of this place. Just the one scene, if you're at the bottom pond, pool of water looking up toward the water organ, and you're at the time of day when the reflections come off of those pools. It is so beautiful. It's just something you will hang in your house for sure. You'll have it copied and hang. Going to the far side of the garden, we could overlook part of the city again, and there were some gates down there and some burnt out buildings, just all added to the ambience of this lovely place. There was mosaic tiles done in the tops of some of them were just inlaid with these tiny little tiles and made beautiful mosaics. And again, there was another area where they had laid little slices of, it looked like little slices of brick, and made patterns in the walkways for you to walk in. There were these little grottoes. They looked just like a natural grotto, where you've got the water just dripping down off the top and over the statues and making greenery inside of the little grottos. Another one of the fountains that I thought was really pretty, again down a stairway, was one coming out of the mouth, and then it went from, it kind of looked like a flower that it would catch in each one and then go down to the next one. Rows and rows of potted plants would line sidewalks. They had some really interesting trees, almost like those ones that grow together, grow their vines together, except that it had one main trunk and then all these little ones that went up beside it. Created some really neat wood patterns. There was even one that looked like there was some kind of a little troll or nymph with his little sheep coming right out of the side of it. It looks like he's just taking his hands and parting the bark and sticking his head out. I thought that was really cute, but then again a little strange. More of the water fountains, and again people would throw their coins into the fountains, so you'd always see the coins in the bottoms of all the fountains where people could make their wishes and hope that their wishes would come true. And you could almost believe it in this beautiful place. I loved, there was one area where you could see the side of the villa and the different times that the brick had been covered. Like there was stone underneath, and then it looked like they had covered that with bricks, and at one time put brick over it, and then at another time they had stuccoed over the top of the brick. And so you could see the different layers of the generations of time that they had redone this villa. As you just walked place to place, it was very calm and very quiet. There was one place that we came to that had a fountain. It was inside kind of a little gazebo, like a little stone cement gazebo, and they even had little water fountains off at the side where the water had gone through its natural filtering process, and you could try this water. I don't know if it was magical or not, but it didn't kill us. We tried it. There were some of the pathways that were really rugged. They had used like little rocks even to make pathways through this jungle of trees and grass and bushes and vines. Again, make sure you take some pictures of yourself so that you can remember. We had a whole group with us. We like to travel as a couple, but we also like to travel in a group. If you watch for some of our shows or check out our website at scattertravel.tv, you may find a trip to go with us, and we like to go to these various places, and those who want to go along are welcome to come. I have my own private travel agent that I do share with those people who come to my website that can join us or make other travel arrangements. There are shops there to go shopping as you leave. There are shops and restaurants in this beautiful place that overlooks a beautiful valley. I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed it. Well, maybe you didn't